Well, everybody. We made it through week number one of the NFL season. Now we're on to week two. I don't want to fit everything into here, but there's going to be a lot to talk about. Why don't we go over what happened on Thursday night? I mean, Jalen Carter, the spitting incident on Dak Prescott, and I do pose the question: did Dak spit at Jalen Carter? I don't think he did. It may have looked that way framing wise by the NBC cameras, but ultimately, I think Dak was spitting at the ground. But whatever. There's nothing we can do about that now because the Cowboys ended up losing anyway. Despite their best efforts, Javonte Williams went off. However, CeeDee Lamb decided to have the dropsies at the worst possible time. And, somebody brought up the stat that CeeDee Lamb has a lot of drops over the past few years, like a lot, for a guy that's supposed to be, the number one wide receiver. You may want to fix those drops, big dog. You may want to fix those drops immediately. Eagles definitely did not, hold the candle as far as the run game was concerned. Of course, the Cowboys could not, get to Jalen Hurts when they were supposed to because it's the Dallas Cowboys. The lack of a pass rush, certainly did them in. The Micah trade, which we're going to talk a little bit more about when we get to the Green Bay game, Dallas had a little bit of fight in them, but the fight was not good enough. And they're going to have to keep the momentum going as far as an offense that, can show up because they showed up in the first half. They need to show up all four quarters, and don't fumble, in key situations too. But, it is what it is. Chargers-Chiefs was a weird one. It was a low-scoring game until about the fourth quarter, and then Justin Herbert went off. Of course, Travis Kelce decided to just absolutely wallop Xavier Worthy. Just wallop him. And Xavier Worthy is out for a bit. But, the Chiefs, I don't know what I was thinking picking them to go back to the Super Bowl because they did not look like the same Chiefs. Justin Herbert was torching them. A big play late, fourth down, fourth down conversion late where, he had to run and scramble for like 15, 20 yards, making clutch throws when need be, keeping the Chargers ahead when they needed to be. And the Chiefs, made some mistakes. They made some mistakes in this game. Again, the Worthy injury was crazy. Chiefs are already thin at wide receiver as is. Can't just trust Travis Kelce every single time. You have to get somebody else out there. So Chiefs now are going to head into the Super Bowl rematch, which this could end up the same way as it did in the Super Bowl, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes and company have the firepower. I don't think they have the firepower to keep up with the Eagles again. I don't know why I thought, this would be, we'd have three matchups of these teams in 12 months, but I don't know if I don't know. This is probably gonna be one of those predictions of all time, folks, that Big Boy has made. It's gonna be one of those predictions of all time, baby. Speaking of predictions of all time, did you think the Dolphins were gonna do anything? I told y'all the Dolphins weren't gonna make the playoffs. I told you it was just not. It's just not there. And the fact of the matter is you let Daniel Jones smoke that defense. That offense looked putrid. Tyreek Hill is sitting on an island, just I don't see Tua nowhere. Where is he at? Oh, he's not showing up. Oh my goodness, the Dolphins offense did not show up. The Dolphins defense certainly did not show up. Terrible performance. Steelers Jets, oh my goodness. Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers went off. Aaron Rodgers with a 4 TD performance. Justin Fields was doing his thing. He's finally in an offense where he can, actually play offense and not, feel like he's trapped. And that game went to the wire. 34-32 Steelers, though. Steelers definitely have some concerns. Again, like I said, I think that defense is good, but it's not great. There's a lot of veterans on that defense, and TJ Watt's leading the way, and Aaron Rodgers is leading the front on the offensive side of the football. But the Steelers have some defensive problems. They could not stop Justin Fields or Breece Hall. They could not stop them at all. The Jags, yeah, they beat the Panthers. Come on. The Cardinals, of course they beat the Saints. Of course. The Commanders, hey, Jaden Daniels put up a performance. Is Russell Wilson really, the guy to be putting, any sort of numbers up at this rate in his, at this stage in his career? No. I mean, it just showed that the Commanders were just out-muscling the Giants in every shape and fashion. Baker Mayfield did not have the greatest performance, but ultimately a Young Oku missed field goal at the end, which, the Bucks had a, missed, PAT, I believe, in this game. But, missed field goal. Somehow the Falcons defense just decided to play dead and not do anything against the Bucks offense their last drive, and thus the Bucks were able to get the win against the Falcons. Again, the Bucks are definitely, they don't look, like a team that should be a playoff team, but somebody has to come out the NFC South. And do you think it's the Falcons? Yep, Michael Penix Jr. played pretty good, but come on, the Falcons needed this game early. They needed this win early. Same thing with the Browns. Joe Flacco did his best, but ultimately a couple missed field goals, really turned the tide, which, just unlucky. Cedric Tillman with a couple of drops, and that's crazy that people do not know Cedric Tillman. I'm sitting here, asking some people, do y'all know who Cedric Tillman is? And they're like, no, we don't know who he is at all, But Joe Burrow played he and Jamar Chase had maybe one good half, but for the rest of this game, the Bengals looked awful, and that's gonna be the theme for this season for the Bengals. 17 points, it ain't going to do you much. It ain't going to be much. Against the Browns are hapless, but, still the Browns, they still competed at the end of the day. But the competing doesn't matter if you don't get the win. Geno Smith, hey, what can you say about the Raiders that ain't already been said? They won. They beat the Patriots, though. Didn't really think that would happen. And then Sam Darnold and the Seahawks imploded late against the 49ers. Of course, George Kittle's out. Jake Moody got cut. Injuries abound already for the 49ers, but yet they get the win against the Seahawks. Even CMC, was banged up for a few plays, which, again, I'm telling you, that's why I don't think the 49ers are going to make the playoffs. I really don't think they're going to make it, But it's only week one. We can only overreact so much. Broncos, they look horrible against the Titans, but against the Titans, Cam Ward in his debut, didn't really do too much. It was all right. He did what he did. The Rams beat the Texans behind a good defense and a good couple of drives by the Rams, which, CJ Stroud just has not looked the greatest. That Rams pass rush was getting to him. That pass rush was getting to him. And then the Green Bay Packers. Like I told y'all, the Packers are going to be a consensus top 5 team to make the Super Bowl. And this just proved that. That Lions offense, they don't have their coordinators no more. They're gone to different places in high spaces. And Dan Campbell's fighting Lions, did not fight at all. There was hardly any fight in him. Micah Parsons got to he got to Goff. He got to Goff. Same way with Myles Garrett getting to Joe Burrow twice. The Lions are not the same as they were last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown's still there. Jared Goff's still there. Sonic and Knuckles is still there. But there's something off, and I knew there was going to be something off. But the Lions have plenty of opportunities to get it together. They have plenty of opportunities to get it together, and they're going to do that. The Bears, They had a solid first half, and then they started to implode. Now, somebody was trying to tell me, "Oh well, the Vikings just they outscored them 24-0 in the last few minutes of the game. Really the last like half of the game. To be quite honest with you, because the Bears had a nice lead, and I mean the Vikings. It was nothing short of incredible how JJ McCarthy was able to lead a comeback like this, where he was getting bombarded those first few series. He was looking lost out there. Like the Vikings were looking uncoordinated. The O-line was looking uncoordinated. The timing was off. There was so many pre-snap penalties or timeouts being taken. And the Vikings just did not look, they did not look right. But they got it right in the second half. And that's the whole point of the story. It's the Vikings, yet again, were able to come up with something. And again, all J.J. McCarthy needs to do, he did throw a pick six, but, again, he made the plays when needed at the end of the day. At the end of the day, he made the plays needed to get the W. And that's basically going to be his job the entire season. Make the plays needed to get the W. That's all you need. And last but not least, before we get really into week 2 a little bit more, is that insane Bills-Ravens game. I mean, Derrick Henry fumbled. Where do you see that often? The Ravens blew a 40-25 lead. We had a scoregami that did not get reported. Josh Allen was unreal in this game. Lamar Jackson was unreal in this game. Zay Flowers was unreal in this game. The Bills, when they were on it, they were on it. The Ravens, when they were on it for about 3/4 of this game, they were on it. Just elite QB play. The Bills are slightly ahead of the Ravens right now. And, I mean, it was just one of the best regular season games in ever. Like, this was beautiful. This is beautiful football. And you just cannot deny the fact that these two are the last two MVPs. These two guys right here are going to be doing things like this for at least another 5-10 years. Definitely 5, probably 10 if things keep up the way they keep up. The Ravens have to get it together. You cannot keep imploding like this, because this has happened so many times over the years under Lamar Jackson's Ravens and under Jim Harbaugh, or rather John Harbaugh, excuse me, not Jim. John Harbaugh's Ravens. Like, there's been so many collapses that shouldn't be happening, and yet they happen anyway. They happen anyway. So, like, something's got to give. The Ravens this week, it's going to be a little bit more intriguing for them. They get the Browns this week. The Bills get the Jets. That should be fun. Other big matchups, really Seahawks taking on the Steelers. That should be intriguing. The Rams, Titans. Again, teams like the Titans, the Patriots, even though, Drake May's cool and all that, but, like, the Patriots got to stink. The Patriots don't have, up to stuff. The Saints, Panthers, like, those kinds of matchups. We have 2 Monday night games, the Bucks and the Texans. Again, the Bucks not looking the greatest on offense. The Texans didn't look very good on offense either. Again, the Chargers coming back from Brazil, taking on Las Vegas. That should be very, very fun. Sunday night, the 2 young quarterbacks, Michael Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy, facing off. It seems very reminiscent of, a couple years ago when they were in college. I don't remember if they were in college at the same time. We already talked about Eagles-Chiefs. Super Bowl rematch going to be the lone game, really, that you're going to see in that late window. Some of us, like us in DFW, will get the Broncos and the Colts, but, like, do you really want to watch a bad Broncos offense that has not looked very good so far, that is not playing up to their potential? That defense is, though. And the Colts, led by Daniel Jones. It's still the Colts, by the way. I don't care. I don't care. It's still Daniel Jones leading that offense. Again, Panthers, the Bears and Lions should be intriguing. Same thing with the 49ers and the Saints, kind of, in a way, because the 49ers are a little bit banged up. The Bengals get some offense going, against the Jags. Trevor Lawrence and company look pretty good. They look pretty good, but can they keep that up? And start proving me wrong because there's gonna be some moments where I'm gonna get proven wrong. Commanders Packers is tomorrow night, and it'll be in less than 24 hours from the time you see this video. Gonna be a good one. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, two young offenses that know how to do it. And Tucker Kraft is on one side, Deebo Samuel's on the other side. I mean, it's a pretty balanced offenses to me. You know what I'm saying? The Giants and the Cowboys are playing because have to get the Giants Cowboys game out of the way early. Please, for the love of God, Dallas, just beat the Giants. Just do that, and we'll be all right. All right. So that's my thoughts on week 2. I'm definitely changing some of my thoughts. I don't know what I was thinking with some of the things I said, last week, but I said them. They're already out on the internet now, so you can't take it back. So I'm going to get up out of here, and I'll see you all Friday. It'll be sometime on Friday before, things get really heated. So it'll be sometime on Friday where I'll get to see y'all, and we'll talk, WNBA playoffs because, WNBA playoffs are here. Thursday night's the last night of the WNBA season. So, take care, everybody, and I'll see you then. We're going to talk some basketball, baby.